Welcome back to the collection update series, and today we have got some amazing pulls from Dominaria United. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the collection update series. This is the series where we are filling out a 12-pocket 480 card Ultra Pro binder with some amazing cards in Magic's history. Now today is a very special day because not only do we have some new cards from Dominaria United that I am really excited to show off, we also have some old school stuff and some stuff just from Magic's modern history that are really exciting cards, and again, I'm really excited to share those with you. Now, I did mention last time that I'm opening up parameters for you guys to have me collect based on. Now, I know that sounds a little confusing, but we did have one person recommend some stuff last week, which we'll talk about when we get into today's video. But if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. As an example, it could be something like, I would like for you to pick up a creature card that is green and has an old school frame. Something along those lines that I have to then select a card that meets those parameter requirements, and then I will call you out in the next video. Now, again, we did have somebody who gave us a suggestion this time around, so I will go ahead and call them out when we get to that card, which is actually going to be our first card. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, guys, so like I said, I did open up these parameters last time, and one person did go ahead and suggest picking up all of the full art cards, which is a little bit much, but we do have a couple in today's video that I think will qualify. So Josh Hallbeck, thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, but thank you so much for the suggestion. We're starting off with Karn Living Legacy. Not only Karn Living Legacy, but it is a foil version. I don't know if you can tell. This is the brand new Karn from Dominaria United, albeit not the most exciting Karn in the world, in my opinion. I don't think it's actually all that powerful in comparison, especially to previous Karns like the Great Creator and of course Karn Liberated. However, it is still a really iconic character in the series, so if you don't know who Karn is, there's a lot of backstory behind Karn's legacy. It's the living legacy, and it's absolutely a phenomenal story, and so I do love it for that reason. It's a continuation of that story. It's a great piece of Magic's history brought into the modern age, which I do really appreciate. So I'm actually really excited to have this in collection. This is not our only full art card, so Josh will have another call out for you later on in the video, but the next card that we have, we're also trying a bit of a different setup this time, so I'm hoping this works out okay, is Sarah's Emissary. This is our first white card, our actual only white card in today's video. This is a biggin. It's a 7/7 for 7 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, choose a card type. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type. That's big. This is Reanimator to a T. This is exactly the kind of card that you would like in a Reanimator deck. It protects you from whatever the opponent may be up to. It just gives you the outs that you might need to be able to take over the game, and it's just a big flying 7/7 threat, which is really difficult to deal with on its own. It does feature beautiful artwork as well. I just love this card all in all throughout. My plan is to run this in cube, ideally, as a bit of a Reanimator target, but also just a really powerful spell for maybe a control deck or something along those lines. Regardless, just a stunning card. Now, next up, we are going to be moving into blue, and we have our first really old, I say really old-ish card. We'll get to some really old stuff. This is Bribery from Mercadia Masks. This card is, again, one of my favorites for Cube for a lot of reasons, specifically for the reason actually that we just looked at, which is a lot of the Cube decks are gonna have really powerful creatures in them. Bribery gives you a way for a blue deck to just straight up steal that creature out of the opponent's deck, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, there are a couple different printings of this. I believe the Mercadia Masks is the original. Somebody correct me if I am wrong, but I do really love this card. I've actually got one other edition of this. I think it's like an 8th edition or a 9th edition. So it's got the white border and the modern card frame, but this is that old school retro frame black border, just a stunning card altogether. And again, very powerful for Cube. It's a great addition there if you do plan to incorporate some of these bigger creature spells. This gives a lot of other decks outs to beat those, especially if they're trying to cheat them out super early or something like that. Now, speaking of really old cards, the next two are actually going to be quite old. The first is a very interesting one. It's Serendip, a Freep from Revised. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this looks like a green card. Why is it in the blue section? If you look in the CMC there, it's actually a blue card with a misprint on the frame. So this is something that is probably one of the most common misprint issues that we have ever seen. Most people know about this. Serendip Afreet looks kind of odd because it's a blue card with a green frame. However, it is a blue card. It's just a really interesting piece of Magic's history, honestly. This came up in the random selection and I was like, ooh, that's kind of unique. I forgot all about that. And so we actually get to feature a bit of a misprint issue, which I don't believe we've gotten to do before. So this is a really cool little piece to add to the collection, in my opinion. Again, just unique, represents a little bit of that history. It's a very old school card as well, which is kind of awesome. But it's not the only old school card. Our next one is also from Revised, and it's kind of a hate card. We got Stasis, guys. Stasis is a really cool card in my opinion, but it is a frustrating card to deal with. It is an enchantment for 1 and a blue. Players do not, excuse me, do not get an untap step. You pay 1 blue during your upkeep or Stasis is destroyed. Cards still do not untap during the next untap phase. So this basically just completely annihilates the untap step for both players, which really slows down the game as you might expect. It makes it a really big lock prison piece, and it's probably very frustrating to play against. This is really just a card that I'm a bad player. I like prison decks. And while I do have 1 Stasis already, I thought it would be fun to maybe pick up a playset over the course of some time. And so that might be the plan as we go along. Regardless, this is just a really fun card to play, not to play against. It is very difficult to deal with from the standpoint of it is an enchantment. So like game 1, especially if you're playing like traditional games, pre-sideboard, it might not be the easiest thing to actually deal with. It can lock you out of the game, and then the Stasis player should be able to kind of take over. Now, again, that's ideal, but it is a really powerful card, and again, a very cool piece of Magic's history. Now, Josh, moving into red, we've got another full art Planeswalker from Dominaria United, which is Jaya, Fiery Negotiator. This might be my new favorite Planeswalker from the set. Aside from, I mean, we know Lily, that's been around for a while, but Jaya is really good. Excuse me, guys. For a lot of different decks, I've found very good success with Jaya in Jund. In fact, in historic and even modern, because she just kind of does a lot of different stuff, throwing out creatures onto the field, giving you extra plays, just exactly what you want out of those style decks. And so for me, Jaya was actually a really fun little pickup. Now, again, I opened a box, a collector's box of the set. I don't know if I mentioned that, which is where I pulled Karn and Jaya, but we do have one other card that we are gonna talk about at the very end. It's the last card in today's collection update that is really, really special. We'll talk about that in a bit, but Josh, again, this is another full art for us here, so thank you so much for the suggestion. I was really happy to be able to add these in and kind of meet your criteria, so I like that. Just gonna go ahead and say this is the last full art for this video. Chances are we're not gonna get every full art in the game, but would be a really sick goal one day. So maybe the next binder will just all be full arts or something along those lines. That would be kind of cool. All right, guys. Next up, we've talked about cube cards. This is a cube card. This is Sneak Attack. For those of you who don't know, this card is ridiculously broken. It does feature itself in a lot of old school like legacy, like Sneak and Show is usually the way it's pronounced, or the deck title, which is a show and tell / sneak attack deck. It's an enchantment for 3 and a red. You can pay 1 red and you put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So, say you play this out a little bit early, maybe turn 3, and then on turn 4, you run out Nemmercool for the turn. Seems pretty good, right? And it is, in fact. It's very easy to win with a card like this. Again, a great cube include as well. And this is why things like bribery are in the cube, because you need some balancing act for cards like Sneak Attack, where this is clearly a build around card. You're gonna want the most powerful creatures to get out there and really get in damage quickly and hopefully win you the game on the spot. Bribery allows for a bit of a counter attack. So you're able to pull that creature from the deck. Obviously, you're not getting all of them, you're just getting one, but you pull the best one and then ideally win off of that. So there's a little bit of a balancing act to do with Cube, and if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I would actually love to do a full kind of review on how to build a cube, maybe. That would be kind of a fun little piece of content that I haven't yet done, but I really love doing cube stuff, and so this is a really good include there. It's also just a beautiful Judge promo. All right, next up is our oldest card for today's segment. We have got a beta Wall of Wood. I've said this before. Generally speaking, if a beta card shows up on the random generator, I try and pick it up, mostly just because I've only ever gotten a handful of beta cards in my life, and I really like beta cards. I don't know, it's the historic piece. Obviously, this card isn't exactly good. It's a 0/3 for 1 green. Not very exciting, but the artwork is really interesting, and again, it's a really nice piece of Magic's origins, really. I mean, this truly is the origins of the game. It's not alpha, but it's very, very close. And so for that reason, it's a really cool piece of history and just a really nice piece for the collection. Not crazy valuable, if I'm not mistaken, but any beta card you pick up is generally going to hold its value from the standpoint of, obviously, that was kind of the origin of the game. And so for that reason, I do really like it. And again, it's just that historic add to the collection. All right, guys, moving into MultiColor, we have another old school historic card, which is this little guy, Lord Magnus. Very cool little card. It's just a Legends, kind of actual legend. So this was when the first like true summon legend creatures were added into the game. If I'm not mistaken, it was the first MultiColor set as well. These cards are not necessarily very good. But they are, again, just a really nice piece of Magic's history, and they have a really cool representation of that art. In fact, I believe these are both Mark Teaton artworks, which is really cool. Just a beautiful piece, honestly. It's funny how it costs 6, it's a 4/3, it does have first strike, and creatures with Planeswalk or Forest Walk may be blocked, as if they did not have either ability. Kind of a specific card, if that makes sense. But it is an actual really cool, again, just piece of the historic side of Magic. And so as these pop up, again, I generally try and pick them up just because I think they're kind of a cool addition to the binder. We've actually gotten quite a handful in this series alone, which is really awesome. So I do like this card. But moving into the modern age of Magic, we have one of my favorite artifacts of all time, which is Batterskull. This is a very, very solid card. So for those of you who don't know, it works great in things like Callblade. Any Stoneforge Mystic deck is really gonna love this style card, which is just an equipment that you can pick out. But this is a living weapon. So when it enters the battlefield, you actually attach it to a germ token that you create as it comes into play. And that creature gets +4/+4, has vigilance and lifelink. Not only that, though, you can pay some mana, return it to its owner's hand, and then, of course, just move the equipment around as you see fit. This is a really big piece of equipment for those decks. It digs you out of a lot of situations with that vigilance and lifelink, giving you that life gain ability, but also giving you the blocking potential. Just does a lot of things for you. And so picking up this original version, the new Phyrexia version, was a really special piece for me. I actually do own one of these already, but it is in a foreign language. And so I wanted to get an English version, again, you guessed it, for the cube. And so I'm really happy to have that here. All right, guys. Last two, and one of them is City of Brass from Chronicles. Now, again, Chronicles, if you guys don't know, was a bit of a divisive set. It was a bit of a reprint. I say a bit of. It was a reprint set. I believe the original reprint set technically, that things were reprinted in white border. Does feature cards like Blood Moon, like the City of Brass, and things like Nicol Bolas, which we have seen already on the collection series. I think that was actually week 1. City of Brass is a really good one, though. I think we've already had one version of this card in the binder, but we've not had this one. So it is a rainbow land. And what that means to you is it can tap for any color. Now, as an exchange for that, you do have to pay a life every time you tap it, but it's a hugely beneficial piece, again, for cube, but also just for a lot of like 5-color decks, even 4-color decks, things like that, because it does just smooth out your mana. It doesn't come to play tapped. It's just a very good flexible piece of mana. And for that reason, I really love this card. I also really love the artwork here. And again, I think this is the 3rd Mark Teton artwork that we have seen. Just beautiful, absolutely stunning. But guys, I told you there was a story for the last card, and there is. I'm very excited about this. So the last card here is Hammerheim. Which may seem a little innocuous. It's a legendary land from Legends. You can tap it to add a red, and then you can tap it to remove all land walking abilities from target creature until the end of the turn. Again, we kind of see a little sub-theme there in the Legends set. This was actually opened out of the Dominaria United collections booster. So kind of a cool thing. If you guys didn't know, there was a Lost Legends kind of marketing push, so to speak, for the Dominaria United set. So I believe it was like 1 in every 3 boxes, so like 2 per case, generally speaking, might have a old school true reprint of, or true print Legends card. And I got lucky enough, and literally pack number 1 is where I pulled the Karn, and I pulled this Hammerheim, which is kind of insane. Now, Hammerheim is okay in value. It's not a bad card at all. It's not necessarily the most expensive card in the world. Certainly there are better cards in Legends. However, this is a really awesome piece. Again, opened up out of a modern set, but able to pick up that old school card. It's beautiful. It's in that minty pack fresh condition, which is very rare these days, of course, for any kind of Legends cards. And I really like that. So I was really stoked to pick this up. I don't plan to use this for anything. It's just kind of a collection piece, but it's a really nice collection piece. And again, that story behind it is really special to me. And I'm really stoked for this. I didn't think I would be getting one of those, and I probably won't again. And so for me, this is a really special thing. Just a really cool little pickup out of a brand new pack. But guys, that's it. Those are the 12 new cards for today's collection update series. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. All right, guys, so as always, we will have, of course, the binder value as well as the completion aspect on the screen here for you. That is 50%, if I'm not mistaken, of the binder done, which is pretty awesome. We have gotten a long way into this. Woo, just knocked over my little tripod. That is a lot of cards that we have added to the binder and a lot of value that we have added to the binder. Now, again, I do want to encourage you guys, collect along with me, share your pickups, but also share some cards that or some parameters that I can collect on, so that way I can call you guys out in these videos and we can make it a little more personal, a little more fun and interactive. Regardless, guys, I do appreciate you all watching this series. I hope you enjoyed this one, and thank you guys so much. I will see you guys tomorrow for some gameplay, and hopefully next week for either a binder recap or just another page in the binder. I haven't decided what I want to do yet. Let me know in the comments if you guys have an opinion, but thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.